Hello, it's me. Welcome to video. I think we're on 12 right now. Um, it's solstice, summer solstice here. I'm sitting in a forest talking to you folks, smoking a cigarette, actually. Kind of a weird thing to do in a forest. Don't worry, the leaves are all dry, or wet. Sorry. I'm a little somewhere else right now. The leaves are wet. Pretty good at making sure that no fires happen. Probably not the most responsible thing to do if you listen to everyone, but I need this right now. I need the solstice right now. Ah. Oh, by the way, you probably noticed the video is not moving, huh? It's because I bought a tripod. So now I can talk to you guys without the really shaky stuff. Um, just have to remember to look at the lens. I tend to forget that. Happy solstice. There's some intense emotions right now. They're almost all really beautiful emotions. No, they're all beautiful emotions. Emotions are always beautiful, even the dark, sad ones. Those are beautiful. I have allergies right now. I wasn't crying. Sometimes there've been a few moments in this forest I've kind of wanted to cry. Not because I'm sad, but because I need to let something go. So maybe I'll just let it go here on this video. I don't really talk about my magic and the things that I do very often, my practice, as it were. Um, a lot of it is kind of private, and a lot of it doesn't really translate very well into descriptions, I guess. Some of it does. There's one thing I do. I started this solstice, winter solstice, so 6 months ago, where I'll draw 3 cards. Um, and those are the 3 cards that are going to be the next, or the themes of the next month and a half or whatever, roughly 6, 7 weeks before the next season. So from solstice to Imbolc, there were 3 cards, and then on Imbolc there were 3 cards until the spring equinox, and then on the spring equinox to Beltane there were 3 cards, etc. You get the point. I found that practice to be really profound. I mean, so I started marking the 8 days of the year, the 8 holidays, the 8 cross-quarter days, or the wheel of the year, however you want to call it. It's interesting. I had a conversation. I think I might have mentioned this, but I had a conversation with the man I love and his mother. She's pretty religious, and he was trying to kind of explain a little bit my paganism to her. And he had mentioned, well, for example, you know, he sees the first day of summer to be May 1st. And it was interesting because her response was like, no, he's right. He's right. That's when summer begins. Um, on the calendar it's a different thing, but that's when summer begins here. And she's right. It's definitely when summer began here. So today on the solstice, um, technically at midsummer, uh, which is that's always kind of been Shakespeare's Midsummer's Night Dream. Takes place on the solstice. It's only that weird Gregorian calendar, the church's calendar, that tells us that summer actually starts today. Summer's been going. It roughly ends right around the 1st of August. Yeah. So, yeah, as I said, I draw cards. And those are always incredibly helpful. They're always kind of incredibly right. It's funny. So the day of the equinox, was a day before I think, um, that I ended up riding a bike to my man's house, to stay with him for during the confinement of COVID. And it was interesting. One of the cards I got was the Lover. And I was like, that's a good sign. And it was. It was. The other two cards too were exactly right for that. And then the three cards I got for Beltane surprised me a little bit. They were all about balance, about reconnecting to Earth. Not just Earth as in nature, but also Earth as in the material things, wealth, access to money, things like that. And those were pretty profound. And the middle one was the Hanged Man. Now, you probably remember last week on the video I was talking about the Hanged Man. That's one of the reasons why that's been such a huge theme. And then today I drew the cards, and those were really good, really, really profound for me. And as I said, they're not so much predicting as they are, I don't know, these are the things that will come up. These are the things that you ought to give attention to. These are the things that working through these cards, these ideas will help you tremendously, in the next month and a half. These will be the themes, and those were good. I'll tell you about those later, when we get to August 1st, when I do the next draw. But yeah, so that's one of the things I do for my practice. Another thing I do is go out to the woods, of course, and just talk or think or dream or just be or disappear in places like this. I was sitting under a tree a little bit earlier, and I was like, this is a perfect place to do the video, but it turned out not to be a perfect place because I was getting rained on by caterpillars. Lots of them. It was pretty wild. It's like, what's that? Oh, hi. Oh, hello. So I decided I'd give them their space. They can hang out there. That's their tree. And right now I'm under a patch of light. I can see the sky. It's partially stormy, partially completely clear. It's beautiful. And no caterpillar rain, which is nice. Although it might actually literally rain. But we'll see. Another thing I do is, when I wake up and when I go to sleep, depends on where I am. Like, I kind of switch back and forth right now between my lover's house and my sister's house, because I have a small. They kind of set up a basement area for me to kind of stay in. And originally, that was what I thought I was going to be doing for the entire year, just living there. And that's in the city, so I'll go to the city for a couple of days. It kind of works out really well. It gives both my lover and I some time to ourselves, to make sure that we don't, get smothered or suffocate or whatever. And then because right now I live, with him out in the practically the forest. It's the countryside. It's not so easy to go do things that you have to do in cities, like haircuts, go to the bank, buy incense, go to the gym. That's one of the big things. It's been kind of the balancing. That was the balance thing for the last month and a half, kind of living in two places at once. It was wild. It was a little difficult to kind of manage, and it's not going to be a permanent thing. So, but it was interesting to kind of have two lives at the same time and play them. One of the cards was the Two of Pentacles, which in at least the deck that I use, and in many other ones, it's someone juggling. Two things. It's kind of a sense of play. It's a little crazy, you want to make sure nothing falls, but at the same time, it's kind of fun to do that. So that was the theme there. So as I was mentioning, I actually have two altars going. One at my sister's house, and when I'm there, I usually leave. So in the morning, I'll go drink my coffee, and then smoke a cigarette because, as I said, I'm a smoker. and then I'll light a candle and I'll talk to my gods. Right now there are 7 that I talk to, including, and then the 8th one um, is, well, the land spirit that I've found is kind of responsible for everything around here. So my relationship to the gods is one of, hey, you're the you're the ones who've been with me for years. Yeah, at least 8 years now, I guess. And then my relationship to that land spirit is one that is here when I'm in Luxembourg, because she's responsible for things here. So, on the one hand, I talk to my gods, um, at the very least say hi, and, we'll ask them things or tell them things I think I need, stuff like that. And then with the land spirit, I always just say, hey, thank you. Uh, Thanks for letting me be here. Thanks for our interactions, our friendship. Um, so I do that, and then when I'm at my sister's place, I'll leave that candle going all day. I've been doing that, had an altar, shrine, etc. for years, and whenever I'm home, I leave the candle going. Kind of marks the God's presence and also reminds me that, I'm constantly with them, they're constantly with me. It's kind of an invitation to them. My altar at my lover's house is a bit different. It's in a wardrobe, so I'll light a candle, do the exact same thing that I normally do, and then I'll blow it out. That way there's no fire inside of the wardrobe. It's the same thing. It's interesting. You don't really lose the idea of them always being there. I always kind of know. You know, it's just different. And then at night, I'll do the same thing. Always before I go to sleep. No matter how tired I am, I'm just, I can ask my lover a few times, like, I'll kind of get out of bed. I think I gotta go do my candle thing. And he's like, okay. So it's kind of cute. So yeah, that's part of my practice as well. And then there was a while, I would do kind of more formal rituals. I remember one solstice. I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago. I was with a group. It was a group of Obod druids. Obod's pretty good. That's where I started learning stuff, and then kind of learned everything else on my own. We did this ritual that was really profound. The ritual itself, take it or leave it. Sometimes when they write ritual things, it's just silly, or oftentimes it'll be an obvious copy of Christian liturgy, or someone will write poetry and you're like, oh, that was really great for a Hallmark card, but maybe not so good for this. But, it's people are trying, and it's nice that they try. This one was pretty good. But I remember this moment when I looked up in the sky and the atmosphere went away. Yeah, I was wild. So I'm staring at the sun and I'm staring at the stars at the same time. And what did that mean? That, I don't know, some things just don't have to mean anything. What it meant for me was this moment of realization, oh yeah, this is, we're on a spinning ball of rock. And the sun at its height is a star. And the difference between them is only proximity. This is our star, or we belong to this star. But there are all of these other stars, and that's its place amongst those stars. Or one of the reasons why I was kind of emotional today is it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I decided I was going to stay in France. I overstayed my visa. I overstayed my visa because I fell in love with a dude. And, you know, I kind of wanted to stay in France anyway. And I had this idea, though, like, you know, if I leave, if I do my normal 3 months here, 3 months away, you know, I'll never know how this relationship will go. So I'm going to stay, you know, and deal with the consequences later. Those consequences were, oof. But they weren't the consequences of the law, you know, breaking the law or whatever. Turns out that you could just pay a fine for overstaying and regularize yourself. So that was not bad. The consequences for staying were that, well, that relationship turned out to be, like my current lover likes to say, he was not the good one, I don't think. Good gods, was he right? So, I mean, you already know this. He was super abusive physically and mentally and emotionally. Oof. I mentioned like the solstice because 3 years ago, man, the only thing that he and I, in the end, kind of really liked doing together was going to the woods. But it was always a different experience. Not like going out to the, you know, woods by myself or, you know, with the man I love. When we go out anywhere, it's beautiful. It's profound. It's always another one was difficult, but 3 solstices ago, we had this really profound experience that, you know, haunted me, and it's beautiful. Right as we were leaving the forest, like just covered in this incredible solstice light, and you know, it always felt like this sign, this thing, you know. The moment I took it as like a, oh, okay, well, you know, it's good we're together, and that's not what it meant, at all. And but now looking back at it, I have this other sense that, you know, sometimes the magic is you. Sometimes the magic is for you. Sometimes the magic is part of you, and other people get to experience it, you know. But it doesn't have to mean anything. It just is. And so today, you might have seen I had originally thought I was going to be able to apply for financial aid from the French government for this divorce, um, and I learned yesterday that I can't. So it was a little bit of a moment of panic, and then I put up a fundraiser, 2,500, and I woke up this morning on solstice morning and saw that already 1,800 had come. I'm pretty overawed, and it's interesting to see that magic, the magic of you all, the magic of everyone who supported me, and see it in context of this other magic, the magic that has always been with me that I've never really understood all of the time. Sometimes translate it the wrong way. Sometimes take it to mean one thing, and it can mean one thing for a little bit, but then that meaning changes. And yeah, one other thing about solstices. So, well, for any of them, I don't know if you've noticed this, but Beltane. There's Eddie Gutierrez, I think was his name. He had said that Beltane is for the living what Samhain is for the dead. You know, May 1st and November 1st, or maybe it was the opposite way that he had said it. But basically, you know, the right now it's winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. Um, so for them, you know, it's a different time. It's the time of the least light. And both of those things happening at the same time on the same planet, on the same spinning, beautiful rock covered in trees and raining caterpillars and all of that means that those things are linked. You know, today here being the day of the greatest amount of light, the longest day, at the same time, its shadow, maybe not shadow, its reflection is the time of least light. And that in this moment of, you know, celebration, as it were, I wish I were at a festival right now. Next year, I hope. But in this time of celebration, there is the same moment of sorrow. But it's always like that. We're always both at the same time, even if we don't see those things. So here I am now at this moment of I am so in love. And I've never been treated so beautifully by anyone. And along with that, my life is profound. It's different. It's beautiful. I feel myself more than I've ever felt in my entire life. And at the same time, there's that reflection where that recognition is only possible because of all of that sorrow. And yeah, those are my thoughts for today. I love you all. I hope you're well. I hope you don't mind my smoking. Like I said, I need this today. Happy solstice. And I'll see you all next week.